There's more that goes into that, though. There's the Week 18 schedule, the Bills-Bengals. We don't know what's going to happen there. At this point, they're not going to play this week. I don't know if they're going to play at all, and that has implications into the playoffs with the Steelers, with the AFC North directly. There's some other parts of this that we will talk about as well, but let's dive into the scheduling part of it. They're not going to play this week. If it is a no contest, which is not a tie, it's basically just a void of the game, the Bengals would win the AFC North, which doesn't matter to the Steelers, but the Bills would then have to rely on a win in Buffalo and then a loss to Kansas City to claim that first seed. A totally different situation for a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were really banking on the Bills hosting Buffalo or hosting New England and winning. I don't know. Like it's not even like an opinion question to ask. It's just, that's the situation. If you're the NFL, do you think that it gets played? Do you think that it's just over? And, how much impact do you think it does have on the Steelers' playoff hopes?
Yeah, I don't think it looks good. The thing is, look, if these guys, the Bills flew back to Buffalo that night. They were never going to just kind of regroup and play it the next day or within the next couple of days. But that just makes you wonder, are they going to, like, when's the day they're all going to feel better? When is the day that everyone is going to feel comfortable going back onto a football field like that? Honestly, if it's next Sunday, like, I'll be just as surprised. So that's just, I have no idea what they're going to do, I guess. And I think I would not be shocked at all if they call it a no contest or just bring it to a coin flip or something. I would be, I don't know if they're going to try to do some tiebreaker or some kind of random, way to generate an outcome. Maybe call it a tie. Like, there's a number of different things they could do, and I don't know if any of them is more likely than the other.
So you said this Sunday, like, are you talking about the Bills Patriots game? Like, you still aren't, in your head, you're not certain that'll get played?
Yeah, like, I'm not, I just, if they're not ready, if they're not ready to take the field by yesterday or today or probably not Thursday, like, when would you play that game? And
yeah,
if you're moving that game back, why are you not? I don't know. I just don't. I think Sunday is much sooner than I assume these guys will be ready to go again. And that's with that. I don't know what their practice schedule has looked like this week. I don't.
Yeah, as of
I don't
now,
know.
I don't know if anything changed. I know Cincinnati moved forward. Like, they started practice today. I just saw. So they'll move through like a normal week. I don't know what Buffalo's going to do, because Buffalo, it's a very traumatic situation for both sides. But obviously, Buffalo is, this is somebody that they loved. This is a teammate. This is a very, very close human being to them. Until you know what's going on, I think that's the biggest thing, is like, how do you return to a football field before you know any updates on his health? Or, as of now, it's just like, okay, like, his uncle spoke to ESPN and NFL Network and said, he's progressing, but he's still sedated. There, at this point, the team has released one update since their original update, and it has said basically nothing. It's just, yep, he remains exactly the same. We don't know what to say, So at this point, it's just like, how do you move forward knowing that this guy's just sitting in a hospital bed, unconscious, still pretty much dealing with the same stuff he was dealing with on Monday night when he collapsed, and for everybody to just be like, okay, we're supposed to move on with our life. Like, I agree with you. I just don't think you could walk onto the field. What does the NFL do from there? Like, if you cancel another game in week 18, you're now getting into the playoffs, which, like, you could adjust a regular season, but moving the Super Bowl has got to be the hardest thing in the whole world. I've heard people say you kind of push the season back a week and you remove the Pro Bowl, but that removes the media week in the NFL, which that's a moneymaker, and the league is not going to be like, oh, we're just going to remove that and make a lot less money. I don't know. How do you think they go about that situation?
Yeah, I mean, it just all like I don't know. I just it all comes down to, I guess, whether the Bills actually want to play. And I think you just saw such a different, like going back to what we talked about earlier, that decision not to play that night, that was the Bills and the Bengals decisions. Those were that was a decision they arrived at. Those two
Yeah.
teams and their captains and their coaches. That was not something that the NFL handed down. So quite honestly, I don't think this land. I mean, I guess the NFL has to react to what they do, but the Bills control all of this, and it's all about what they want to do. Quite honestly, yeah, I don't know because it's not like this is. I think it's different if this is the 7 seed. That's still just like fighting for a playoff spot. This is 2 top seeds that are going to be there. This is one of your Super Bowl favorites.
Yeah, but how do you, if you're the NFL and you have to handle this situation, like if the Bills are like, we're not playing this weekend, we're not ready, which I don't blame them for that. And the Steelers and then the NFL has to be like, okay, well then you just forfeit. The Steelers have just been eliminated from the playoffs. And I know that in the grand scheme of a human being's life, that is no big deal. But when you break it into micros and this is the NFL playoffs, somebody somewhere is going to get upset. Somebody high up. I have a very hard time believing that everybody in the NFL, not players, I think every player does. I also believe every coach does. But I have a hard time believing that every businessman in the NFL is sitting there okay with the situation going on, was okay with that game being shut down, will be okay with more changes moving forward, and would highly dislike a situation like that, especially if that person is, somewhere near the Steelers organization.
Yeah. I agree with you. There was probably not 100%. I don't know. Like, there definitely are people in the NFL who are not happy about what happened on Monday night, for a number of reasons. But I don't know. They have to. I don't know. I just can't get around the fact that the Bills just kind of unanimously decided to call that game themselves, and I just think they have. I don't know. The NFL is just going to have to decide. I don't know, because it's such a bad look to throw this team and tell a team they have to forfeit under circumstances like this. They're in an awful spot. I don't think they can win in either way, but yeah, as long as the Bills don't play, like, you have to assign them forfeits, right? If you're really being honest to the game, but I don't know.
And then what happens if they're not, you know what I mean? Like what if worst case scenario happens and this team isn't ready for, for 2 weeks? How do you tell somebody to go do that? Like, how do you, like, hey man, like, you just watched your teammate possibly pass away right in front of you. You watch somebody administer CPR on a football field to somebody you love. You have a week. If you want to forfeit that game, cool. You have 2 weeks to be emotionally prepared to go out there. And it's not like emotionally prepared to go back to work. You are emotionally prepared to put your body on the line in a situation where that line of work just claimed somebody that you love. Like, that's impossible. It's impossible to say, go do this. And then it's a very much so lose-lose situation. I was listening to the Pat McAfee show yesterday, and Ian Rappaport went on there, and said that, the NFL, from the meetings that he's been in, have been we don't really care about the business side of things right now. We're just kind of focused on DeMar, which I don't know if that's necessarily exactly what's being said, but I would believe that they are very much concerned about how they look in this situation. Yeah. And, they understand how bad they will look if they don't handle this the right way. Maybe we're in for a situation where everything gets pushed back a little while and the NFL season kind of just gets put on pause. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but for right now, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just about what's best for the Bills, what's best for DeMar Hamlin, and what's best for the players involved in that situation.